What's going on, everybody? Here's Johnny, and in this video I'm gonna be revisiting Season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. Season 1 was something like a beta version of Gumball. It had much different art style and animation, plus the writing was really childish and immature at times. So is Season 2 a big improvement over all these things? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's jump right into it. As usual, I'm gonna be using my trusty tier list for ratings. And at the very end of this video, it's gonna get converted into some numbers so we can compare it with other seasons. And what you're about to hear is just my opinion. So if you disagree, it's completely fine. Let me know in the comments what is your opinion. The Remote. It has a generic story with characters trying to solve a puzzle, so to speak, which is obtaining a remote. But we also get some Gumball twists mixed into it, which are always appreciated due to their creativity. We get some intrigues, fights, and as I already said, puzzle solving. But by far my favorite character here is Anais. Her plan was pure genius, I guess. Maybe even too genius. Sometimes I'm kinda scared of her. The episode goes in the A tier. While I like the idea for the plot and the conflicts, the first half of the episode with Gumball, Darwin and Richard is kinda slow paced. The Knights. This is a relationship episode. Two guys fighting over a girl. I don't really care about that stuff, so I'm only gonna say the positive things. I don't really care, so I'm only gonna talk about the positive stuff. So there are two scenes with Watersons, one at the beginning of the episode and the second towards the end, where they all look bad and untidy. That was pretty funny, and how Gumball rescued Penny from being run over was kinda cute. And that's pretty much it. I don't really care about Penny's dad not approving Gumball, and Tobias is cringy. The episode lands in the C tier. The Fridge. So we get another episode about a competition in Waterson's family. Not too long after The Remote, but unfortunately this one isn't as great. In The Remote, we had a friendly competition between all the members of the family. But in this episode they straight up become enemies. I really dislike Nicole here. I'm not a fan of her trying to make Gumball the best competitive player. I felt bad for him. She was going too far. And the episode would go to the lower tiers if it didn't have these amazing visuals. Backgrounds and the animation are pretty much the only good thing I can say. So it balances out to be a B tier episode. The Flower. So we get another relationship themed episode. And this one is kinda better and kinda worse at the same time. It's worse because Gumball really goes too far with the jealousy, but better because of the same thing. I really like how the jealousy is presented here. It's a literal ghost that turns everybody green and shifts the emotion to being just evil when they are possessed. That concept is great. And the whole thing is great enough to bring it up to the S tier. And I like the whole exorcism thing at the end too. The Banana. So the episode is really dumb. I mean, it's cool to see episodes focus on the individual characters, but Banana Joe is far from being my favorite character. They make big unnecessary problems from trivial things. Okay, I actually laughed in some places. For example, the whole scene in Mr. Small's office was really hilarious. It's B tier. After all, most of this episode is kinda dumb. Not very annoying or unwatchable, but still. The Phone. So I'm not really a fan of Darwin getting addicted to the phone, plus that scene in Mr. Small's office drags a bit too long, but those two problems aren't really that big problems. And the reason is Ocho. Honestly, he is one of my favorite background characters. I like his Space Invader design, and his abilities to make a pixelated game-like battle is something I always appreciate, because I like such style. We only get to see this battle in like 2 last minutes of the episode, but it is enough to bring it up to the S tier. The Job. So this marks the first major instance of Gumball series getting crazy. The meta humor and breaking the fourth wall is absolutely amazing. And it is that kind of humor I just love in general. So it's no wonder that I love this episode. Easy S tier. 99% of it is pure fun, because the remaining 1% is that short scene with Banana Joe's family. I just don't like them. Halloween. So as I already mentioned in previous videos, I like special theme episodes. Unfortunately here, we get a pretty generic plot. Characters turn into ghosts and they only have limited time to go back or else something bad happens. Some visuals are pretty nice, but most of the ghost designs aren't really interesting. There are quite a few funny gags when Gumball and Darwin are ghosts, but most of the stuff is still something you would expect from a ghost episode. It's A tier, it's still enjoyable, and there are some high stakes. The treasure. So we finally get an episode that reunites Water Sons instead of splitting them. And this is the first of many episodes that changes Richard's personality and makes me like him more and more. After that garbage character he had in season 1, the episode is really heartwarming and has an awesome adventure through the woods. The rain and the nighttime give it a beautiful atmosphere. The apology. So as much as I don't like Simeon, this episode made me feel a little bit sorry for her, but just a little bit, because seriously I hate her. But there was something charming about her trying to frame Gumball and Darwin and failing constantly. It's A tier, a pretty simple episode, not really much to say. And I also like how Gumball and Darwin actually helped her. The words. Honestly, I like this episode. It's relatable because some people do struggle with expressing themselves and try to be polite, which is not always a good thing. Everybody should be direct with their thoughts and opinions sometimes. And the episode presents that in a creative and entertaining way. It goes in the S tier. On top of the good lesson, it's also pretty funny. I like the songs and the retro animation towards the end, when Gumball and Darwin fight. The skull. So the episode revolves around Clayton, his lies and imagination. And I must say that I like it, because my imagination works in a similar way. So yeah, it has the relatable stuff on point. It is amusing how they all just get in trouble because of Clayton, and how he tries to change the situation for himself to look better. I'll put it in the S tier too. And although the climax fight with Razor was pretty funny, the joke that it was only a thing of Clayton's imagination was kinda predictable, but the whole thing was cool nonetheless. The bet. So I'm gonna say it right off the bat, Bobbert is my favorite character of all of Gumball. So when an episode is focused around him, it's obviously gonna go in the S tier. I'm not entirely sure why, but maybe because he's a robot and can be controlled in many different ways, like in this episode when he goes into the obedience mode. Of course, Gumball overuses it and accidentally turns Bobbert against himself, which leads to a great final few minutes. And the self-destruct mislead was actually pretty cool. And the self-destruct mislead was actually pretty well done. Christmas. So unfortunately, just like with the Halloween episode, this one is also on the generic side, not on the new and fresh side. You know the homeless guy will turn into Santa Claus. That was really predictable. And main characters must drive the sleigh ride to deliver all the presents isn't anything new either. This concept has been used in other shows. And that twist that Nicole was sending the letters to the South Pole wasn't surprising either. It's only A tier. It has many generic stuff, but it's still a charming Christmas episode. The Watch. So it is a simple concept. Characters don't want something only to later find out it is worth so much money and they start fighting over it. And that's pretty much it. It's another of those generic ones, but we actually get some Gumball twists here and there, which definitely bring it up to being a lower A tier. Unfortunately, some jokes are kinda predictable, like the explosion at the very end, but some interactions between characters and jokes, like Gumball and Darwin dressing up as Death, were actually pretty funny. And the slow chase was kinda cool, I guess. The Bumpkin. So this is another episode that focuses on a background character. This time it's Idaho, who lives in a countryside and isn't really familiar with the city life. So it was really interesting and entertaining to watch Water Sons trying to live like him, and vice versa later on when Gumball shows him the real life. It's S tier in my opinion. A simple idea, but it works, and has a lot of funny gags. Although there's one scene where Idaho eats fries, which is kinda weird. The Flakers. So here we have a much better version of The Responsible from season 1. It shows typical interactions between siblings and just children in general, which has some sort of a charm in it. I like all their little fights and how Anais tries to reunite Gumball and Darwin. And Richard's side of plot is fun as well. I was thinking about putting it in the A tier, but after rewatching it, I think this is one of the better family-themed episodes. So maybe low S tier suits it better. The Authority. Granny JoJo returns to this episode, but let's be honest, she is not a likable character. But the actual things she does to the Watersons are actually pretty funny. I am totally a fan of her overprotective rules making everybody dumb, but on the flip side, I think they made Richard and the kids a little bit too dumb. But that doesn't matter, it works for the premise of the episode. I'm gonna put it in the S tier because I like dumb humor at times, and everything kinda makes sense. Plus, as usual, we get a great ending when everything goes back to normal with action. The Virus. I guess the relatability of this one was forced upon us, wasn't it? So Terry may seem annoying with how overcautious she is and how she sanitizes everything, but I think the virus itself and his subplot balances it out. Honestly, I like this little character, and how he eventually transforms into a computer virus, and is able to control house appliances. That fight scene was really cool. But which fight scene in Gumball isn't cool? It's S tier. The Pony. So this is that kind of episode when characters try to do something but everything distracts them along the way. So it is a simple plot, but every little adventure they encounter, it's not bad or boring in any way. It's A tier. Still entertaining and harmless. The Hero is easily one of the most heartwarming episodes, even if Richard acts a bit goofy in the first half. And Gumball and Darwin made the situation even worse. Plus Gumball is really unlikable. It doesn't matter because later on, they all realize it. And Richard actually shows how much he cares and loves them. And the whole sequence, plus the song, are beautiful. Not to mention the amazing climax when he rescues Gumball. It is S+++ tier. Truly beautiful and heartwarming story. The Dream. I think this one is also pretty cool because it's relatable in some way. I think we all had a dream that made us salty, even if it doesn't have any connections to the real world. I surely had one of these. To be honest, Gumball goes a little bit too far, but ultimately, they solve the problem in a creative way. I like the idea of connecting the minds to share a dream, and some of their dreams are kinda cool, but still, it is about a relationship. So, it is a lower A tier episode. The Sidekick. Not gonna lie, both Gumball and Darwin act like jerks towards each other here, and while I understand Darwin, he goes a bit too far. It feels like a wasted potential for a role reversal episode. Role reversal. I can't say it. Nonetheless, I'll still put it in the A tier. There are still some funny gags here and there. Plus, I like the sequence in the final few minutes with Tobias' mom on the chair. And I guess Tobias is, in general, relatable in this episode. The Photo. Although it is relatable, because I'm not photogenic, I would say it is still a generic plot. I've seen it in Ed, Edd and Eddy and Dexter's Lab, and honestly, it mostly looks the same every time. The character has a bad photo at the beginning of the episode, then tries to fix it by making and maintaining a good-looking face, but everything is suddenly against him, and at the very end, the character messes up again. I'm not saying this is a bad episode formula, but it's always the same everywhere, without any new twists or anything fresh. So this episode lands in B tier. The Tag. Not gonna lie, I find this episode to be really fun and entertaining. Mr. Robinson's character is funny in general, and so far, all the episodes with him fighting the Watersons were good. This one is no different. I like neighbors' fights in general, so it was funny to watch them argue even from a distance. But of course, I also like how Gumball and Darwin try to reunite them. But the fact that they failed was kinda let down. Nonetheless, it is still an S tier episode. There's just so much good energy going throughout. The Storm. So you probably know what I'm going to say. It's a relationship episode. So I usually don't like these. But maybe this one is better. Well, no, it's not better. In fact, this is the worst one so far. This is the same toxic Masami like we had in the season 1 episode The Pressure, which was also bad. This episode goes in the D tier. I just don't care what the characters feel towards each other, and who is which girlfriend and all that. And the whole episode just releases negative energy. Everybody's just so mean. I don't like it at all. The Lesson. So this is also a generic plot about characters getting at attention, but unlike in The Photo, this one doesn't feel like a usual formula without anything new. Well, yeah, we get some of the stuck things, like the detention portrayed like a prison and everybody inside is designed like a criminal, but I actually kinda like the atmosphere. And the sequence of trying to escape is cool also. I think this is an A-tier episode, because I do root for them to get out of this situation. The game is really awesome. The original Jumanji is one of my favorite movies of all time, which is what they are parodying here, and they did a fantastic job with all these random effects and the humor. It's easily S tier. The stakes are really high and there's a lot of tension. But man, Gumball and Darwin really made it potentially unbeatable. That's honestly kinda disturbing. The Limit. Right off the bat, they are all out of characters, which drove poor Nicole into insanity. Seriously, they all behave really immature and childish. Even more than they did in season 1. They made them this way only for the purpose of this episode. I personally dislike them here, and it's all because of Candy. We have all seen that spoiled child in the supermarket, which annoys everybody. Well, here is an entire episode about that. So it lands in the C tier. It doesn't go in the D tier because, out of context, I actually like the Raging Nicole sequence. The voice. I love this episode. William is probably my second favorite character of the show, after Bobbert. I like his creepiness, his weird design, and psychic powers. Isn't he too dangerous to be kept with other people? So yeah, his character makes an awesome horror atmosphere in the second half of the episode. But also the first half wasn't that bad. When Gumball and Darwin apologized to everybody and they felt relieved, I kinda felt relieved myself. It makes me want to apologize everybody for everything I've done. Maybe I should do it. It's an S tier episode easily. The promise is pretty much middle of the road stuff. Gumball is sort of unlikable here. He should understand that Gumball wants to help others from time to time. So I'm not really a fan of this conflict. But there are some funny gags here, like brainwashing and the video of Banana Joe's at the gym. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's not bad, but it's not really that interesting. The Castle. It's pretty similar to The Words. The character can't stand up to himself and becomes a pushover to everybody around. It isn't a copy or anything, this story is completely different, but it's equally fun. I like how things gradually go more and more out of control. And I like the concept of a house without rules. It's nice to see everybody having a good time, I guess except Watersons. So it is S tier. Additionally, I absolutely love the moment when Nicole comes home and takes control. The boombox is pretty funny. It's mostly just one gag repeated over and over, them not understanding the beatbox and trying to understand. That's pretty much it, but I think this is an A tier episode, because everything is kinda amusing, although the very ending is kinda stupid. Juke could easily use some random item to switch between his voice and the beatbox. The tape is pretty cool. I always like to record some videos, so it brings back memories. And what they record is what you would expect from children, which makes the whole thing somewhat charming. But on the other hand, it can only go in the B tier, because most of the videos are just fails instead of good material, which gets kinda boring pretty quick. And of course, they make a stupid and predictable ending when they accidentally delete the whole material, which makes the whole thing kinda unnecessary. The Sweaters. This episode is weird. I'm not a fan of these weird characters and their art style. Additionally, they act like jerks. Very unlikable people. Because, yeah, they are people. Animated humans in Gumball, which is an oxymoron. But even the rest of the episode isn't that great. The whole thing is just weird. C tier, although I'll give him points for experimenting with something different. The internet. So this is the first major instance of mainstream media like YouTube appearing and having a bigger role in Gumball universe. And we will get more in later seasons. I know we had some Elmore Plus stuff in earlier episodes, but that wasn't as big as this. In this episode we get some parody videos, or YouTube poops like they were called back in the day, and I must say this episode does a pretty good job on it. It isn't too cringy, in fact the internet humor is utilized pretty decently, except the scanner joke. That was really stupid. And the second half, when the internet controls the city, is pretty awesome. It's an A tier episode. It bugs me how the internet, such a powerful being, it's a character that just casually lives in Elmo. Like, nobody's even interested. The Plan. So this episode has an ironically really good plot, and it's really enjoyable. I am totally a fan of imagining all the plans and the potential outcomes. Gumball's one with the time travel is probably my favorite one. But yeah, I totally like their flashbacks and imagination. It's simple, but S-tier episode for sure. And I actually like how it turns out to be just a misunderstanding. It was kind of predictable, but it doesn't matter. The world. It's different, and that's what makes it great. All the little stories about the everyday objects and their perspective. The episode is fun and entertaining from start to finish. I was truly intrigued. There is no real plot, so you never know what comes next. And most of the interactions are funny. Episode easily goes in the S tier. I enjoy compilations like these. And finally, the finale. The title says it all. They had a great idea for the finale indeed. Their self-awareness and all the past actions turn against them. It's another brilliant example of Gumball's meta humor. And I love how instead of fixing everything, they just went with creating bigger problems. The whole second half of the episode is pure fun and tension and action and comedy. And it ends with a cliffhanger because what else could they do? It's obviously S tier. One of the best ways to make a finale. Awesome! So we have finished the second season. Let's take a look at the numbers. So we have 19 episodes in S tier, 12 episodes in A tier, 5 episodes in B tier, 3 episodes in C tier, and 1 episode in the D tier. Season 2 of Gumball could earn 200 points. The number of points it got is 165, which is 82.5%, which puts it in high A tier. So what is the conclusion? Season 2 is definitely an improvement over Season 1, but not by a lot. The art style and the animation are far better, but I'm not sure about the writing though. Of course, the humor in general became less immature and can be enjoyed by much more demographic. The plots and ideas for the episodes kind of felt just like Season 1. We could pick a random episode from Season 1, switch the art style and the animation to Season 2, or vice versa, and some of them would fit perfectly. So I think when people say Season 1 is worse, they mostly refer to the looks of it, not the plots. If the same animation and art style was consistent throughout the series, Season 1 would probably receive less hate, for the most part. Let's not forget that there are some terrible episodes like The Dress in Season 1. I would say they are almost equally enjoyable. Most of the characters didn't change in terms of personality, except Richard. He was extremely stupid in Season 1. Thankfully, he was the opposite in this one. I'm not saying he was a genius, but wasn't nearly as bothering. And that's pretty much it. That was my opinion on Season 2. As well as that's everything for this video. So see you guys in the next one.